At the center of it all, it's you that I see. It's you that I see.
Hey guys, this is Daniel. People know me to be JB, and I welcome you all to my channel and my studio as well. Strong Attitude Studio. And this is a short video that I've realized that most people in the tertiary level are finding it difficult to understand how to calculate their results, how they are able to get what they have on their program. So I've taken this opportunity to explain to students, tertiary students out there, on how to calculate their GPA and CGPA. And I believe at the end of this video, you guys are going to be enlightened. And you guys are going to understand this. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video as you're watching. Enjoy the rest of the video.
At the center of it all, it's you that I see. It's you that I see.
Let's begin without wasting much time. First of all, before we calculate the GPA and the CGPA, we need to understand certain terms or certain abbreviations before we can start calculating it. So over here, you can see the heading is how to calculate GPA and CGPA. So let's look at the terms, the meaning of the terms, and some of the abbreviation. The first one is credit hours. Credit hours. The credit hours, the number of hours used in every class or lecture. So you can have a lecture, then you take maybe 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours during that lectures every time. So that is what we mean by the credit hours, the time you spend at every lecture hall. Okay, then the next one is the grade, which is the grade that are going to be used, or the alphabets that are used to represent the grade that we want or that we get. Okay, sorry, that we get. So it can be A plus, B, C plus, and stuff. So that is the grade that is awarded to every marks that you get. Okay, so the third one is the marks. The marks, that is the score that you get during or after the examination. The scores that you get, whether 80%, 90, 70. So you can see example over here is what, 70. That is the example. So the marks is the score you get from all your class activities. So the marks that you get, so let's say in C++ you had 70, in mathematics or discrete math you had 80, and let's say in Infotech you had 60. So that is the marks we are talking about. Then the fourth one, which is the grade point. The grade point, it is the point you get from your marks and the credit hours for each course. The grade point is a point that is awarded to you by multiplying your marks with the credit hours that you spent. Okay, so the grade point can be 7.0, 13.5, 9.0. That is the grade points. And we are going to learn, don't worry if you don't know how to get it, but you are going to learn how to calculate the grade point also very soon. Just want you to understand certain terms over here. Okay, now let's go to the fifth one, which is the grade point average, which is the GPA. The GPA, it is the number that determines how well you scored in your course on average for a particular semester. Okay, so let's say only first semester, the point that you get for that first semester, that is your what you mean by GPA. If you take only second semester in level 100, the point that you scored for only the second semester in level 100, that is your GPA. Okay, and the GPA will determine the class that you get. It will determine the class that you get, whether first class, second class. So it depends on the GPA that you get. And we have 3.0, 2.0, and you know over here our GPA, if you have 3.0, that is the second class upper, so it is 3.0 to 3.99. Okay, then 4.0 to 5 is also first class. Okay, so that is the GPA. Then we have the CGPA, which is the cumulative grade point average. That is the CGPA. Okay, it is the sum of all the GPA for the number of semester spent. So it is like the total of all the GPA. So if you are in level 100, your first semester, your second semester put together, that is the GPA you have for first semester and the GPA you have for second semester. Okay, guys, put together, that gives you the CGPA. That is why we say accumulative grade point average. Okay, so these are some of the terms that. So now that we are familiar with some of the terms, let's move forward and look at an example of the results that we are talking about. Okay, so this is an example of someone's results. This is an example of someone's results. So let us go through. I see the HND. Over here is the grade value. So the grade value, meaning that over here when you have A plus, the value that is awarded to A plus is 5.0. If you had A, the value that is awarded to A is 4.5, B plus 4.0, B 3.5, and so on and so on. F0. Okay, so that is the grade value, the value you get for every grade. It's like a point or a number that is given to every grade. Okay, so if you have B, you are going to get a point or a value of 3.5. Okay, a value of 3.5. So that is the grade value. Okay, this one. And let's move forward. Over here you can see the course code, the courses, which is Com Skills, Information Technology, Introduction to Programming using C++. This is the courses. Now let's get to the important place. The first place, which is CR. That is the first column. CR. So the CR stands for the credit hours, as we explained above. Credit hours. The credit hours. So the credit hours tells you the number of hours you spend in the lecture hall. So when we take communication skills 1, for example, we spend 2 hours anytime we meet. We spend 2 hours for communication skills. Information Technology 1, we spend 3 hours. Programming C++, we spend 3 hours. Okay. Mathematics, we spend 3 hours. Okay. Then if we put all the hours together, we are going to spend the credit hours, or the total credit hours, it is 18 hours. So we spend 18 hours every week. Every week we spend 18 hours on all the courses over here. Okay, so let's move to the next column, which is the, you can see GD, which stands for the grade. The grade. So over here, the grade is the alphabetical value that I use, the alphabet that I use to represent the your marks. Okay, so you can see B, A, B, A, B plus, C plus, C plus, and another C. Okay, so communication skills, the person had B. Okay, let's move to the next one before we come to this one again. Over here, you can see MK, which stands for the marks, as we explained over there. So this is telling you that in communication skills 1, the person had 73. The person had 73, meaning after the mid-sem, the end of sem, the quizzes, the assignments, the person had 73 as his or her marks. Okay, and the 73 gives you grade B. Gives you grade B. Okay. Then information technology 1, person had 71 as his marks. So that one also gives you grade B. 71 also gives you what? Grade B. 83 gives you grade A. 76 gives you B plus. Okay, so that is the marks, and this is the grade that is awarded to these marks. These are the grades that is awarded to these marks. Okay, now let's look at the GP, which is the grade point. The grade point. Okay, the grade point, I will explain it further over here. I'll explain it further to you. Okay, so that is the grade point. How the grade point came about. Okay, how the grade point came about. But let's look at something over here. 73, the marks 73 gives you what? B, right? So looking at B, the value for B, the grade value for B, it is what? 3.5. 3.5. So that is the grade value. We use that one, don't worry. We come to that one, we are going to use it. So over here, the total grade point is 63. 63. And the total credit hours is 18. And looking at this place, the GPA, which is a grade point average, is 3.5. 3.5, and this being the first semester of level 100 and being the only exam that the person had done at that time, the CGPA is also going to be the same. Okay, so the 3.5 gives you second class upper. Okay, now let's move on. Looking at second semester in level 100, these are the courses that the person offered. The credit hours are also here. The credit hours are also here. The grade are also here. The marks that are ordered are also here. And the grade points are also here. Okay, so this is what we mean by what we explain about this over here: the credit hours, the grade, the marks, the grade points. Okay, but before we calculate the CGPA and the GPA, let's first of all look at how the grade point came about. How the grade point came about. How to calculate the grade point. Because it is the grade point that you are going to use together with the credit hours before you can get to your GPA and the CGPA. So you must know how we came about the grade point. Okay, you must know how we came about the grade point. Okay, for you to get the grade point, you need to look at the grade value. The grade value. What do you mean by grade value? Looking at communication skills 1, you can see that the grade for the max 73 is B. The grade for the max 73 is B. So looking at B over here, B has a value. B over here has a grade value. So let's look at the grade value of B. The grade value of B is 3.5. 3.5. The grade value of B is 3.5. Okay. The grade value of A is 4.5 over here. The grade value for B plus is 4.0. The grade value for C plus is 3. Okay, so looking at the grade value for B, which is what? 3.5. Okay, now for you to get the grade point, which is the GP, you need to multiply the grade value. You need to multiply the grade value by the credit hours of that particular course. You need to multiply the grade value by the credit hours of that particular course. Okay, so let's go to our communication skills. The grade value for communication skills is, let's bring out our calculator and do our calculation. Let's bring out our calculator and do our calculation. Let's put our calculator over here. Let's put our calculator over here. So looking at communication skills, the grade value, the grade is B. So let's look at the value for B. Looking at the value for B, B is 3.5. 3.5. So we are going to multiply the 3.5 by the credit hours for communication skills. We are multiplying the grade value for B, which is 3.5, by the credit hours of communication skills. So let's try and see if we are going to get 7.0 as the grade point over here. Let's try and see. So the grade value for communication skills is 3.5, multiplying the credit hours, which is what? 2 hours. Okay, so what is the answer? The answer is 7. The answer is what? 7. So the grade point for communication skills is what? 7. Okay, the grade point for communication skills is 7. Let us try the grade point for C++, which is A. C++, the person had 83, which gives that person grade A. So grade A, let's look at the value of A. The value of grade A is 4.5. 4.5 over here. The value for grade A is 4.5. So 4.5, and the credit hours for C++ is what? 3. The credit hours for C++ is 3. So meaning we are going to multiply the 4.5 by the 3 hours that the person spent. Okay, so let's look at it. So 4.5, which is the grade value for A, multiply by the hours, which is 3. So give me what? 13.5. 13.5. So the grade value, the grade point for C++ is 13.5, as you can see over here. 13.5. So let's take last example. Let's take C, which is economics. The person had C in economics. So looking at C, the value for C is what? 3. 3. So we are going to multiply 3 by the credit hours, which is 2 hours. So multiplying 3 by 2, let's see what we are going to get. 3 by 2, we are going to get what? 6. 6. So the grade point of economics is what? The grade point for economics, let us do our calculation well. C, the grade value for C is what? 2.5, rather, not 3, sorry. The grade point for economics is 2.5, which is C. 2.5. So we are multiplying 2.5 by 2 and see what we are going to get. 2.5 by 2. So this is giving us what? 5. So the grade point for accounts is what? 5. Okay, 5. So that is how we're able to get what we call the grade point. The grade point. Okay, the grade point. It is what? Looking at the grade value of the grade that you had, multiply by the credit hours that you had, giving you what? The grade point. So this is how we calculate, or what? Look at how to calculate the GPA itself, how to calculate the GPA, how to calculate the GPA itself. Okay, so let me make this a little bit bigger so that we can see everything clear. So looking at how to calculate the GPA, we first of all said it is the total grade point divided by the credit hours. That gives you the GPA, and the GPA determines the class that you will be, whether first class, second class, upper second class, lower third class, or field or something. Okay, so let's look at GPA. So GPA is equal to the total grade points divided by the total credit hours. Okay, so over here, let's go back to our results. So these are the these are the grade points over here. These are all the grade points. So we are going to add all the grade points over here. So we add all the grade points, then we divide it by the credit hours, all the credit hours over here. So let's do our calculation and see. So our grade point is 7.0 plus 10.0 plus 13 plus 12 plus 6 plus 9 plus 5. When we add all these things, we are going to get what? 63 as our total grade point. And one thing that you need to note over here is that with the GPA, it deals with only one semester. Please note that for me. It deals with only one semester. Okay, but the CGPA deals with all the semesters combined. Okay, but the GPA deals with only what? One semester. Okay, so one semester. So we add all the grade points, and we have discussed how to get a grade point. So we add all the grade points, then we add all the credit hours also. So these are the credit hours for the first semester, the credit hours. So after adding the credit hours, you can see that they are written 18 over here. So the credit hours for that first semester only, when you add all, it is 18, and the grade point for that semester, when you add all, it is 63. Okay, so we are going to divide the 63 by the 18, and that is going to give us what? Our GPA. Okay, so when we divided the 63 by the 18, we got 3.5. 3.5. So we can do it for you to see. 63 divided by 18, which is what? 3.5. So the GPA is what? 3.5. The GPA is 3.5. So let's go to our results. So you can see that they have written 3.500 over here as the GPA. Okay, as the GPA. And looking at over here, we have the CGPA. It is because this is the only semester, or the first semester. That is why the CGPA is also 3.5. Okay, but as we go on, we see that the CGPA has changed over here because we have added the second semester to it. Okay, so that is how we calculate the GPA. It is the total grade points divided by the total credit hours, then you get 3.5. And you know, if you have 3.5, it is what? Second class upper. It is second class upper. So that is will be your position. Now let's look at how to calculate the CGPA. The CGPA. The CGPA, which is the cumulative grade point average. cumulative grade point average. It is the sum of all the GP, that is the grade point of all the semesters you give you have. Sorry, there's a mistake over here. All the semesters you have spent divided by all the credit hours from first sem to the last sem or your last sem on campus. Okay, so let's go back to our results. So we can see over here that over here, for you to get a CGPA, you are going to add everything, all the grade points from this first sem. Then we are going to add all the grade points from this second sem. You add it together, then you get the total or the sum total of all the grade points. Then we add the total credit hours by from the first sem and the total credit hours for the second sem. If you have level 200 results in, you just add that one to it for you to get your CGPA. Okay, so over here, adding the 18 and the 20. Over here, the credit hours for the first sem was 18, the total was 18, and the second sem was 20. So when we added it, it gives us what? 38. So all the credit hours together is what? 38. Then over here you can see that the grade point was 63, and the second sem it was 39.5. So adding the 63 and the 39.5 gives us what? 102.5. Okay, so 102.5, it is the total or the sum of all the grade points, and the sum of all the credit hours is 38. So we divide the total grade points, that is 102.5, by 38, that is the credit hours. So let's go back to our calculation. So 102.5 divided by 38 is going to give us 2.697. So over here you can see that over here the grade point, after calculating the grade point average, the grade point average was 1.1975 for only the second semester. But when they did the cumulative grade point average, by that is adding the first and the second sem together, it gives what? 2.697, which gives you what? Second class lower. So the person had second class lower. Okay, the person had second class lower. Okay, so that's basically how to calculate the CGPA and the GPA. Okay, so after calculating your CGPA and the GPA, you see that you need to know the class that you are taking home or the class that you are right now. So looking at the first class, you have to get what? A CGPA of what? 4.0 to 5.0. 4.0 to 5.0 before you can get what? First class. Then we have second class upper, which is 3.0 to 3.9. Second class lower, which is 2.5 to what? 2.9. Third class, which is what? 2.0 to 2.4. Then pass, 1.0 to 1.9, and fail, anything less than 1.0, it is fail. It is fail. Okay, so guys, I hope this video helped a lot. I hope it gives you a fair idea, it gives you an understanding of it all. So I'll say thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video for others to also get this understanding. There will be more videos on more interesting things that are coming up. There will be more videos on C++. There will be more videos on IT. So please keep following, keep sharing, and keep watching. Thank you. Bye.
At the center of it all, it's you that I see, it's you that I